Alright, next we'll show you the trim tools. You'll find that trim tools can be very handy when creating precision drawings. We can find trim tools under the Edit menu and Trim here, or we can go to the All-in-One toolbar, and we can hold down on the Trim Corner tool to expose the remaining trim tools. Let's go ahead and first select Trim Corner, and what I want to do is to trim this corner up of these two intersecting lines. So let's go ahead and click on the vertical and the horizontal line to create a corner, and we can do it with non-intersecting lines here too. So let's go ahead and click on the vertical and the horizontal line. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim round, and that will allow us to create a rounded off corner. And we can set the radius of the rounded off corner up in the edit bar. So we'll select a 2-foot radius and we'll press enter on the keyboard to accept that value. Let's go ahead and click on the vertical and the horizontal line there, and it rounds it off. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim bevel tool. Trim bevel will bevel off a corner for us, and currently I have it set at 1 foot. Let's go ahead and change that to a 2-foot bevel. Press enter, and then we'll click on the vertical line and the horizontal line to bevel it off. That's a 2x2 bevel. Okay, now if we wanted to change the distance between the height and the width, we can do that by unchecking this little checkbox here. And now we can change the X and Y coordinates, and we can do a 2-foot by 4-foot bevel. And we'll press enter on the keyboard, and then we'll click on the horizontal line and the vertical line. As you can see, that's 2 over and 4 down. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim edge tool. Now, if I want to make 2 lines meet up, I can do that with the trim edge tool. If I have this horizontal line that needs to meet up with the vertical line, I can set the vertical line here as my baseline with a click, and then I can click on the horizontal line, and that should meet up nicely with the vertical line, like so. Now, if I have 2 intersecting lines like this that I want to trim off the excess here, I'll select the vertical line as my baseline, and then I'll select the area that I want to keep here, and then the remaining will be deleted, like so. Okay, the next item on the trim menu is the trim intersection. Okay, and basically what that's going to do is take the area of these 2 rectangles that they have in common, and it's going to delete the remaining sections of the rectangle. So I'll select the first rectangle and then the second rectangle, and what I have left is the intersection points. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim union tool. Trim union will take the 2 rectangles here and merge them together as one object. So let's go ahead and select the first one, and then we'll select the second one, and it merges them together. Okay. Now the next item on the trim menu is the trim difference tool, and trim difference will take the area of the secondary rectangle here and deduct it from the area of the first rectangle. So first what we need to do is select the secondary rectangle, and then we'll click on the primary rectangle, and you can see it deducts that out nicely. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim break tool. Now if I have a line here that is a natural continuation of another line, and I want those 2 lines to meet up, I can do so and bridge the gap by selecting the first line, and then I'll go over and click on the secondary line like so, and it bridges the gap. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim channel tool. Now trim channel, you need to set the width of a channel. So let's go ahead and click here to set the starting point of that channel, and then I'll bring my mouse over and click again to set the width. Okay, now I get a little circle cursor, and what I need to do here is to select any lines that I want to delete from this channel. So if I want to delete this line, we'll go ahead and click here, and then we'll click here. And if I wanted to continue on, I could do so, but let's go ahead and do a right click to deselect that. Alright, so now the next tool on the trim menu is the trim divide. Now what this is going to do is take a polyline and break it up into two segments. So let me go ahead and click on the first segment and then the second segment. As you can see now, it is two independent lines, which I can move apart like so. Okay, so the next item on the trim menu is the trim subdivide. Now trim subdivide works with both lines and ellipses and circles. So I can break this up into several segments if I'd like to. And what I need to do is set how many segments I want up in the edit bar. So let's go ahead and select 6 segments. We'll press enter to accept the value. And we'll come down to the circle and we'll just click on the circle here like so. And let me go ahead and click on this line and subdivide it into 6 separate sections like so. Now that may not be apparent at first, but if you go and you click on the circle here, you'll see that it is in 6 equal segments. And if I press the delete key on my keyboard, I can delete those segments out. Okay, now let me go ahead and double click on this line here, and you'll see that it is in 6 equal segments. If I wanted to delete one of those segments, I could click on the line there in between the vertice points, and then I can select delete on the keyboard to delete that segment out, like so. Okay, the next trim tool is a trim join tool. Now you'll notice down here I have some line segments that do meet up, but as I select them individually. Now if I go over to the trim menu and I select trim join, and then I click on the first line there, and then the second, and then the third, and then I go back to the second to join those two together, you'll notice when I select those, they're now selected as a single polyline. Okay, next on the trim menu is the trim alcove. Now trim alcove will allow us to create a coved area either on the inside of this wall or on the outside of the wall. What I need to do first is to select the line with a click. Now let me go ahead and set the starting point of the alcove with a click here. Let's go ahead and set the height here. Okay, with a click, and then I'll set the depth here with another click. And there it is. Now I do have the option of creating an alcove with angled walls. So let's go up to our edit bar here, and let me select a 45-degree angle. Okay, and I'll press enter to accept that value. Now let's come down and select the line that we want to put the alcoved area on. Okay, and I'll set the starting point, and then I'll come down and I'll set the height here with a click. Now I need to pull my mouse in like so to set the depth, and I'll click there. There we go. Okay, now I've shown you all the basics of the trim tools. Let's go ahead and do a little example here of what we can do with those trim tools. Okay, I've created a couple rectangles here, and this lower rectangle has a hatch pattern applied to it, and the top rectangle does not. So let's go ahead and merge the two together. I want to drag the first one over the second one there, and we'll use our trim union tool here. And when I click on the first one and then I click on the second one, the first rectangle will inherit this hatch pattern from the secondary area. So let's go ahead and click on the first one, and then we'll select the second. Now you can see that that's merged into one unit. Okay, another trick that we can do here is to double click on the outer line here to get into the edit vertice mode, and we can hold down on the control key, and let's go ahead and arc this line up like so. Okay, there we go, and as you can see the hatch pattern followed that arc. Okay, now let's go ahead and knock a little chunk out of the corner here, and to do so let's go ahead and just draw a rectangle around that corner like so. Okay, and we'll go to our trim menu and we'll select the trim difference tool. Okay, I want to deduct this area out, so I need to select the secondary rectangle here, and then the primary area, I'll click on it here, and it deletes out that intersection point. Okay, now occasionally what you'll want to do is to mix line types. when doing pavers and other objects. So primarily this is straight polylines. And what I want to do is to create a curved area across the bottom here. And to do so, let's go up to our paver path tool and select it there. Now let me go ahead and click, and we'll create just a little bit of a curve on the bottom, and then we'll do a right click to set it down. Now let's go to our trim tools, and we're going to trim difference again. So I click on the area that I want to deduct here, and then I go to the primary paver area up here that I want to keep and click here. Now as you can see, I've got a straight polyline area with a curved bottom here. That's very helpful.